Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of this F1 24 driver crew mode with myself driving for Sauber in our first season as a Formula 1 driver. If you did miss the last episode around the Netherlands, it was a home victory for Max Verstappen, a 63rd career victory for himself, and Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc join him on the podium to be quite a regular podium so far this season. It was a P5 for myself. In the end, had fuel and tyre issues. Yeah, the car was just really thirsty, just chewed up all of its fuel. So we were running P4. Unfortunately, I had to let Checo Perez go through though to just pretty much make sure that we make it to the end, and also very nearly did not make it to the end with tyres as well. And as you can see here, we have got another secret meeting with RB, so this could be the moment we decide whether we want to drive for them, or if we think about the possibility of trying to go straight to the Red Bull Racing main team, since we're now being compared to Sergio Perez. So we'll have to find that out. And as we're here in the meeting, as you can see, the big man, the big boss is here with us. And based off the previous meetings, that we can see that both Yuki and Daniel have only managed to get a 7th place and a 8th place for Valtteri and a 2nd place for myself. So me and Valtteri pretty much outperforming both Yuki and Daniel. You'll see as well, RB have got an 80% success rate on the development, and so far have had 32 upgrades on their car. So Sauber, so we've had an 82% success rate, so our success rate is higher, and 37, so more upgrades as well have been put on this car, which is probably a leading factor to why at the moment we've got this car from absolutely worst car on the grid to leading the midfield. But the main thing is that we can now see that RB having a much greater trust in me, and I'll be replacing Daniel Ricciardo if I was to drive for him next season. A 54% recognition at RB compared to my current 50% here in Sauber, so a little bit more there, and probably a few more perks as well. So we're going to complete the talks, and yeah, sure, the car currently isn't as good as ours, but the main thing was that recognition. That's that's pretty much as what sold me on possibly moving to RB if Red Bull doesn't come a knocking as well. I was going to go into the teams as a lead driver, which is going to be crucial. Unfortunately, Sauber have caught wind now of our talks, so hopefully nothing falls through with RB. If it falls through with RB, we may be a little screwed here. So hopefully we haven't burnt our bridges here in Sauber. We're going to go straight to our specialists as well. So the power unit consultant, overtake for 45 seconds, material fabrication planner, 6 laps without penalties, quality assurance tester, 50 seconds in 5th gear, strategy analysis, perfect a race strategy program, which all should be pretty simple to get done. And we've only got the one new upgrade on the car this weekend, and it's a fuel efficiency upgrade, which would have been handy last race weekend, but at least it is here now for Monza. And we have been warned that there are going to be some regulation changes as well, which could mean we have to start thinking about saving upgrades versus actually making the upgrades, which could put our car further into the clutches of the rest of the field. And we're going to take a look at the R&D for the wider picture here. So it's McLaren staying fastest, as they are now very closely followed by Red Bull, and the gap between the next three is absolutely nothing, with Ferrari, Mercedes and Aston Martin nearly on identical car performance pretty much. We stay best of the rest at the moment, followed by RB, Williams, Haas and Alpine tailing the field at the moment as we head into qualifying.
They call it the Temple of Speed, and the pilgrims have come to worship. It's all about the speed today. Qualifying awaits us. Welcome to Monza for the Italian Grand Prix.
And for this qualifying session, it's just going to be a game of trying to get a lap in, essentially, because the margins are always so tight around Monza, with all the straight lines and everyone pretty much running 0-0 wings. So we're going to be trying to make sure that we nail absolutely every single lap as we cross the line. Our first lap's going to be good enough for P5 at the moment, but I'm sure that will change very quickly as we're coming towards the end of our final lap here in qualifying. We dropped all the way down to P7, but we crossed the line to finish P9 in the end here in the first part of qualifying. So we're going to make it very safely into the second part. Lando Norris is fastest by 500 of a second to Charles Leclerc. Carlos Sainz is third, only 7 thousandths behind his teammate. Bottas also making it through. He's in P7 and he's only 4 tenths back. I was about 4.5 tenths back and knocked out in Q1 here. Stroll, Sargent, Nico Hulkenberg, Pierre Gasly and Kevin Magnussen failing to make it to the next stage of qualifying. As we go into our next stage here of qualifying, we've run very wide at the first Lasmo there. And that's going to be the end of this first lap. That was on a set of scruff tyres, so we were going to be trying to, save a set if we were able to make it into Q3. And coming to the end of our first lap on a set of new tyres, it's only P11, so it's not going to be fast enough for the minute for us to make it into the next part of qualifying. What about now as we come around to finish our final laps, only a tenth and a half, and we do make it just into P10. In the end, Charles Leclerc is fastest in Q2 by 0.06 of a second ahead of Perez, and then it's Carlos Sainz third, 400ths back. And once again, our teammate showing he's got really good pace around here. He's in P9, so that makes it 2 Saubers into Q3 here. And myself, P10, only 0.03 of seconds separates me and Fernando Alonso as he is knocked out along with Daniel Ricciardo, Alex Albon, Esteban Ocon, and Yuki Tsunoda. And now, going into the final part of qualifying, we've only got 1 lap to do it in. We've only got the 1 set of tyres. We go wide at the Lesmo again, and we're in the wall, and that is a massive impact, and that is going to be a lot of work for the mechanics to get it done before we go to the Grand Prix. And I think, from memory, that's one of my first retirements in a very long time. I can't remember the last time I had a retirement in a session. As we take a look here at what happened, I just, ran wide, grabbed the grass on the exit there, and very heavy impact into that inside wall. And you can see at this point I was already very wide, but this was my only lap to get a lap in. So if I ran wide, touched the grass a little bit, and I was able to continue on, I may have been able to still continue to finish my lap. But unfortunately, that grass just immediately flicks me to the other side of the track. So that is going to be my one and only lap wasted in this qualifying session, but it is going to be Leclerc on pole, and Sainz makes it a Ferrari front row lockout here in Monza. Verstappen finishes third, 2.5 tenths back. Bottas P7, he's 4 tenths back, and then myself, I will be starting out of P10.
We're back in Italy once again for another round of the Formula One World Championship. And what a great race is in store for us today, here at the oldest circuit on the calendar, which hosted its first race all the way back in 1922. We're 12 miles northeast of Milan for today's Grand Prix at a Monza circuit where we can expect top speeds of around 215 miles per hour. 11 corners on this 3.6-mile track, with 7 of those coming in the form of chicanes. And with a good slipstream and DRS open, there should be plenty of opportunity for some passing here today. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Norris, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Bottas, Hamilton, Russell, Lightning, Fernando Alonso, Ricciardo, Albon, Ocon, Tsunoda, Stroll, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Gasly, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway.
Okay, let's see if we can keep this momentum up. Let's get another points finish.
And starting 10th, I would be hoping to try and get some points here. So hopefully we can do that for Mark, our engineer. And taking a look at the strategy there, actually bringing the pit box lap back by 1 lap was actually going to be quicker, minuscule, but it was going to be quicker as we get ourselves ready for the race start. And it's lights out, and we are off. We've got a lot of wheel spin in 3rd gear, a lot of wheel spin in 4th gear, and we finally are able to get the power down, but we haven't been able to make too much ground here. And we're going to try and see if we can't catch a few people napping here into the first corner, and we lock the fronts, lock the rears. We had everything all crossed up, but we get it stopped with very minimal contact made with any of the other drivers around us, and we have got ourselves ahead of our teammate. So he's had an absolute shocker start from P7 down to P9, and you can see there Charles Leclerc still leads the way ahead of Verstappen. And then it's Carlos Sainz trying to make the move on Sergio Perez here, and he does get that move completed going into that chicane. Then it's Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, the 2 McLarens, following them Lewis Hamilton, the 2 Saubers of myself, and Valtteri Bottas and George Russell currently rounding out the points. But it is all going to be very crucial to organise where we're going to be sitting in this field before the DRS comes around, because that is going to play a massive part in this Grand Prix. You can see here, I've already lost a bit of touch there, 7/10 to Lewis Hamilton, so I'm letting my teammate go through on ourselves, and Valtteri moves himself up into P8, and hopefully he can tow us to the rest of the front of the field here, as the McLarens are looking to get their way through the field now. They're both, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, looking to try and get past Sergio Perez here, but it's going to be an absolute drag race down into the first corner here. Lando Norris doesn't know where to go. Do I go behind his teammate, or do I go behind Sergio Perez? In the end, he's going to have to sit station behind the two as they continue to go side by side through the chicane, and it is going to be Oscar Piastri getting the better run out of the corner, as Fernando Alonso gets himself now up into the point, sitting P10. He got himself past George Russell going into that first chicane. There is now, looks like we're going to have a change for the lead here. Max Verstappen with the power DRS should be able to get this move done going into the chicane here around the outside of Charles Leclerc. Gives him the inside, but generally here the AI tend to get a better run if they're on the outside on the second part of the chicane, and they continue to go side by side through this sweeper here. And Max Verstappen does get himself ahead of Charles Leclerc, so Verstappen now leads the way as George Russell is getting himself back into the points now. You can see that I've lost touch to my teammate Valtteri Bottas outside of the DRS zone, as there's a little bit of contact there between the two leaders, so they are not going very easy at this battle at all. They have dropped them 2.5 seconds to Carlos Sainz, so they can afford having a little bit of a battle here, but they can't afford too much contact like that, whereas they could both end up with damage, and it could end in absolute tears. And there's more contact, and Charles Leclerc moving over in the braking zone there, and Max Verstappen has now lost one of his end plates there on the front wing. So could this be the end of this battle? You can see Max Verstappen's already dropped off a massive amount, as his teammate Sergio Perez has got himself past Lando Norris, and Lewis Hamilton's also looking to take advantage of this. Could he possibly, with the run that he's currently got, try and get past Sergio Perez as well? But it looks like he is going to go for it around the outside. Where did that come from? I was not expecting Lewis Hamilton to be able to go for that move as well. I saw he had a bit of a run going, but I did not expect him to actually be able to get that move going. So we take a look at the replay there. Yeah, Charles Leclerc just kind of moves over. I think he didn't think Max was going to be going around the outside there, but as we know, any gap left open, Max Verstappen will go into it, and yeah, in the end, contact was made, and that's ended with damage for Max Verstappen. You can see they're 1.5 seconds now back away from Charles Leclerc, and he is falling away massively as they go 3 wide into this chicane here. Sergio Perez, Lewis Hamilton, and Lando Norris. How have they managed to get through there with very minimal contact? Lando Norris looks like he's going to be the one that benefits the most out of this, and he's going to be moving himself now up into P5, back on board with ourselves here. Because of them battling, we've had an absolute wicked run, and both myself and Valtteri going to get ourselves past Lewis Hamilton there, and myself jumping up a couple of positions, because remember, Valtteri was also ahead of us. And yeah, you saw also there that we were meant to let Valtteri go through, but as he was behind Hamilton at the time, Mark then kind of freaked out and just, in the end, made me not worry about it. But I've done the right thing. I have let Valtteri back through. I know at the moment on these medium tyres, he is faster than me. As it looks like it's a bit dicey back behind us. The two Mercedes are trying to block off Fernando Alonso from trying to get into the points here. Could this be a little bit of a team game, as it is all very close between Mercedes and Aston Martin in the Constructors' Championship at the moment? Further up the field, though, Oscar Piastri is looking to get himself now ahead of Carlos Sainz. Sainz has not been able to make the inroads to the top two that he probably hopes that he would have been, and Oscar Piastri has had enough of sitting behind him, and he's trying to get that move done, as Norris is getting himself back ahead of Sergio Perez once more. Oscar Piastri having another attempt at this. He wasn't quite able to get that move done on the previous lap, and you can see behind us there are plenty of moves going down with the DRS, and Oscar Piastri this time around does get the move done. Sergio Perez also gets himself back ahead of Lando Norris on board with us once again, and Mark has now changed his decision. He wants us to get past Valtteri Bottas, so maybe Valtteri's kind of stalled out a little bit. Now he's in the dirty air there of Lando Norris, and so now he wants us to try and get the move done on our teammate and see if we can't have a crack at Lando Norris. But Lando Norris must have heard that message, and he's now got himself ahead of Sergio Perez before the DRS straight. So I wonder where the detection zone was, and if Sergio Perez is now going to benefit. Sergio Perez does get the DRS flap wide open now, and he is going to be looking to get that move back almost immediately from Lando Norris going into the chicane here. And these guys battling is only going to help myself and our teammate Valtteri out here as they continue to slow themselves down. And you can see just how much we're able to gain there, because that gap is no longer 1.5 seconds to Sergio Perez. It is now less than a second. At the moment, it's sitting at 8/10. As we're looking here at Carlos Sainz, he is looking to get himself back ahead of Oscar Piastri here, and they have actually caught up to the back of Max Verstappen. They're still outside of DRS, but they've essentially caught up to the back of Max Verstappen. Verstappen now nearly 4 seconds away from Charles Leclerc, so that damage definitely proving to be an issue for the Dutchman here in Italy, as Sergio Perez gets himself back ahead of Lando Norris. But you can see that has brought our teammate Valtteri Bottas into this, and is he going to be looking to try and get a move done? He's managed to get himself ahead of Lando Norris, and his eyes will be now set onto Sergio Perez, and coming down this straight now as we go through the Ascari chicane. Well, about to go through the Ascari chicane. He's going to get the move done. Sergio's going to fight it, and he does get the move done going through here, and back on board with ourselves here. We're going to try and see if we can't benefit from Lando Norris and Sergio Perez. Perez in the battery saving mode. He knows that he can't keep up with our teammate at the moment. George Russell's looking to make it 3 wide coming into Parabolica, and we managed to get the both of them. But you can see there, because we were on such a strange line, we lost the rear end a couple of times there. Very good saves from ourselves to be able to not loop it, but that has cost us a lot, and so now it looks like we're possibly going to lose out to both of these guys are coming here into this first chicane here, but we're going to go very deep on the brakes. Lando Norris looking to try and get ahead of our teammate. They continue to go side by side. We're going to try and give Perez a squeeze, but in the end, he just had too much of his car there, and I didn't want to try and get hooked into that wall that's only right there. So in the end, we were able to get the traction down, which gave us that position. And Oscar Piastri is getting himself back up into the podium. So these two just DRS swapping. But they're battling so much now that they've kind of stalled out behind Max Verstappen. They haven't been able to catch him. As now we do an order check here. So it's Charles Leclerc leading the way, driving away from Max Verstappen, and then Oscar Piastri. Carlos Sainz sits P4, Lando Norris. Then it's the two Saubers, Valtteri ahead of myself, P6, P7, Sergio Perez, George Russell, and Alex Albon currently sitting inside the points in his Williams. And it's the two Astons of Stroll and Alonso, Nico Hulkenberg. Lewis Hamilton's now outside of the point, so he's really fallen down the field since that battle, including ourselves. Daniel Ricciardo, Logan Sargent, Kevin Magnussen, the two Alpines of Gasly and Ocon, and then it's Yuki Tsunoda rounding out the rear of the field here, who's sitting in P20. And unfortunately, in this DRS train, I just wasn't able to really catch up to Valtteri to try and get a move done. So we haven't been able to do that driver swap that Mark's been after. It's Carlos Sainz once again getting himself ahead of Oscar Piastri, but they're now ever closer to Max Verstappen. And you also saw there that we will be coming in at the end of this lap, and so does Charles Leclerc. The race leader is in. So usually you don't see the AI go for a strategy like this where they go for a bit more of an undercut, and here we are coming into the pit lane as well, along with Charles Leclerc. At this rate, I think it's only us two in the lane. We may be joined more, as I can see in the background. There are other cars now coming into the lane as well. And Charles Leclerc is already in and out. That's how much of a lead that he has got. And for ourselves, we're chucking onto the hard tyres now. Our one and only stop. It was a pretty good stop there, 2.4 seconds. And now we're going to be rejoining in about P17, so rear of the field. So hopefully a couple of good hot laps here. We will solidify our position inside the top 10. And as we do come past the pit lane here, you can see we do jump our teammate Valtteri Bottas by actually some margin here. And Lando Norris comes out of the pits just in front of us. And so hopefully on our warmer tyres to his cold tyres, we can maybe try and stay within the DRS of him and try and get P9 off of him. But unfortunately, he's pretty much able to drive away just enough for us to not really be able to capitalise on it. And now Mark knows that we need to be conserving our energy for possibly a late race battle, and so he is wanting us to save our ERS, so that is going to be the next thing I can focus on in this Grand Prix. I've got a bit of a time buffer between another car, so I can afford to lose a little bit of time to the other cars around me, but not too much. As you see there, Sergio Perez is just outside of my DRS, probably going to be within the DRS fairly soon, as that Red Bull is far superior than the current Sauber that we are driving, as my teammate is looking to get himself past George Russell there. He sent it up the inside at Parabolica. He hasn't got the move quite done yet, and it was George Russell that managed to get the DRS at the DRS detection zone. But the straight line speed of the Sauber is surprisingly really good. Even with DRS, he was able to stay alongside with George Russell in that Mercedes. and he's going to continue this battle going on into this next chicane here. Is he going to get the move done, or is George Russell going to fight this even further? But it looks like our teammate's going to go very defensive into this chicane, and he is going to be able to take P8 away from George Russell and hopefully move up further into the field along near where I am. But now, see, this is what I'm talking about. It's hard to concentrate when I keep getting told each race. So far, it's each race. We had a little time where we didn't get these messages, but it is so distracting knowing that our team on the pit wall, they're losing their telemetry. They don't know if my tires are actually inflated, and because of that, and also because I'm trying to save some ERS, I'm going to let Sergio go through here and try and see if he can't drag us further up of the field here. And you can see fully lifting off, braking early to try and make sure that we don't get ahead of him in the DRS zone. And I was also trying to be backing off there to try and make sure that he didn't go too defensive, because if he goes defensive trying to defend me not actually going for a move, then we're just going to end up losing time to Lando Norris, and it's all going to be absolute for nothing, as Valtteri Bottas now has a lot on his hands, battling for the final points paying positions here. Alex Albon has dragged himself into this battle here, and Alex Albon's looking to get himself past George Russell, which he has already done. And is he going to be able to get the move done on our teammate Valtteri Bottas? He's still side by side as they come through the sweeper here after the chicane, and it looks like that Williams is always known for its straight line speed, and that straight line speed has come in handy here to secure himself a P8 for the minute. And Max Verstappen is looking to make his way back through the field now. You can see his front wing hasn't been repaired yet, but maybe that car just suited a bit better to the hard tyres as he gets himself back up into third place here. During the pit stops, you can see Carlos Sainz did get himself up into P2, so at the moment, as it stands, it's a very comfortable Ferrari 1-2 here in Italy. You can see Carlos Sainz there in the foreground of the picture there as the two McLarens swap positions. So Norris now ahead of Oscar Piastri, just sitting behind Max Verstappen. Here's a replay. While all of that was happening, our teammate was able to use the straight line speed that this Sauber apparently has all of a sudden got to get himself back ahead of Alex Albon, and further ahead into the field now, Lando Norris looking to get himself back ahead of Max Verstappen. So it looks like the Red Bull better down the straights and in the slow speed corners where that front wing isn't going to be really an issue, but in this middle part of the circuit where all the high speed stuff is, he is struggling quite a lot as George Russell gets himself now ahead of the Williams. Is the Williams possibly fading? We'll have to keep watching to make sure and check Alex Albon's progress through this race. Oscar Piastri now getting himself ahead of Max Verstappen as they go three wide. There's contact once again. Max Verstappen's been having a lot of contact so far this Grand Prix, all seemingly to be in the same spot as well. Him trying to go around the outside at that first chicane. The McLarens continue to go side by side. They've both pretty much dogged Max Verstappen there. And Max Verstappen now down into P5, just ahead of his teammate Sergio Perez there, who's currently 3 seconds away and towing myself to this battle pack. And I am loving seeing these guys battle it out, because all I know is every time they go side by side somewhere, we are getting closer to them. But you'll notice in that top left corner, it's lap 20 of 27. We don't have a lot of time to be able to catch these guys, so I am begging that they continue to battle it out just as they are now, going side by side. But in the end, Max Verstappen, it looks like he's got that straight line speed that is proving dividends for him to try and hang on to these much faster McLarens as it seems to be. And on board with ourselves here, you can see we've nearly lost touch to Sergio Perez, but we just seem to be able to drag ourselves back to him with the DRS, and Mark now wants us. He knows what's at stake here. He wants us to set in fast lap times, and that is exactly what we do. We're setting fast lap times as per Mark's recommendation, and that is proving to be working as that gap slowly starts coming down. You can see us in the background there of this shot of the two McLarens going side by side. Somehow, so far, no contact between the two, and it is now Oscar Piastri ahead of them. And just to prove how much time we gain through that, it's currently 3.6, and they're going three wide. Our teammates Alex Albon, George Russell, three wide. That was an absolute wicked camera shot to cut back to. And as the battle continues to go on, we'll touch back later with the battle pack that I am part of. But at the moment, focusing on our teammate Valtteri Bottas. Is he able to stay ahead of George Russell? But is Russell going to be able to sweep it around the outside just as his teammate did earlier in the lap? and it is going to be George Russell now ahead of our teammate Valtteri Bottas. That was an absolute wicked thing to watch. As now back to the battle pack here. It looks like they're going to be going 3 wide. Once again, it's 2 McLarens versus a Red Bull. And in the background there, we are getting ever closer to this battle pack as well. Max Verstappen using that outside line to get the better traction, to get himself now ahead of the 2 McLarens. And it is going to be, at this rate, I reckon it could be a last lap battle here, because we have gained, what are we at now, 2.5 seconds. So in the last 2 laps, we have gained over a second on them. As this battle continues to heat up, we are going to continue gaining more and more time, and as we do get closer, we start getting a little bit of benefit from the slipstream as well. You can see we're right there, we're just there, as Lando Norris is looking to try and maintain his position ahead of his teammate Oscar Piastri. He may get the better exit here, and he does get the better exit ahead of his teammate, but only the next lap later, it is going to be now Oscar Piastri with that DRS, and you can see we are now essentially a part of this battle. We are here as they continue to battle it out. And now that we are pretty much now a part of this battle, we have got the opportunity, we've got essentially 2.5 laps to try and get ourselves possibly from a P7 onto the podium. A podium is now very much in the cards for ourselves here in Italy as the battle with our teammates. It continues on. George Russell getting himself back ahead. On board with ourselves now. We've got 2 laps to go. We've just started lap 26 of 27. It is 2x2 ahead of us. And can we try and get a good run out of here? We go for a very different line than what you would usually see going through that chicane. And it is proving to have worked. We get a better traction down on Sergio Perez. We get ourselves ahead of Sergio Perez, but he is looking to try and send it back down the inside, and he does send it down the inside, kind of boxed in now between the Red Bulls as Verstappen kind of parks the bus on the racing line there, but we managed to complete the move ahead of Sergio Perez, now us up into P6, but starting the final lap of the Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri looking to get himself ahead of his teammate. This is for the podium here in Italy, and he does get himself ahead of his teammate, and it's all single file from now on, so hopefully we can dump a heap of our battery that we have been saving per one of our last objectives that Mark had given us. And now our teammate once again going 3 wide. There's contact, lots of contact between the 3 of them, and our teammate looks like he has lost out to those 3, and he's now dropped himself down to P10. Max Verstappen has got himself ahead of Lando Norris now, so Norris losing out to Verstappen there in the final lap, but is Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz crossing the line to make it a 1-2 for the Tifosi here in Monza. And back on board with ourselves here, going through the Parabolica for the final time. Max Verstappen, we've got a good run on Lando Norris. We're going to get Lando Norris. Max Verstappen saving battery. Max Verstappen saving battery, blocking off Lando Norris. And we managed to get Lando Norris to claim a P5 here in Monza. P10 to P5 in a Sauber.
What a drive, what a victory. He wins.
To come here and take victory as a team today on home soil was so important. You can see how much it means to them. The drivers there doing their part. The team's strategy was perfect as well. And the fans really embraced that. What a great atmosphere we had here today.
Ferrari are at it again. An excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
No matter what team you go for, it's always iconic to see a Ferrari 1-2 in Monza, and Leclerc this time around getting the win for the Tifosi. Piastri does make it onto the podium as well, surviving those last lap battles that we watched. And it was Max Verstappen in the end running out of battery on the run to the line, and he was blocking Lando Norris. So I wonder if that was a bit deliberate there to make sure that Lando doesn't get any extra points on Max Verstappen for this battle that we've got going on in the lead of the World Championship. Looking at the rest of the top 10, Max Verstappen, myself in P5, Lando Norris, Sergio Perez, George Russell, Alex Albon, and our teammate does hold on to P10, Valtteri Bottas, gets himself a point, double points for ourselves here in Monza, and Kevin Magnussen was the only non-finisher of this Grand Prix. And we take a look now at the drivers' standings. It is Max Verstappen leading the way by 40 points to Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri with that podium now puts him 62 points behind his teammate sitting P3. Myself sitting P7 now, only 11 points behind Sergio Perez, which is now crucial for our rivalry that we do have with Checo. Our teammate Valtteri Bottas P17, he's closed the gap to only 5 points now to Daniel Ricciardo. McLaren leads the Constructors by 38 points to Red Bull. Ferrari with that 1-2 now, 122 points behind Red Bull in P3. Sauber, we move up the P5 with that performance, 40 points behind Mercedes, and we are beating Ocon in our driver rating rivalry. Only need one more level to claim a victory in that rivalry. And driver ratings wise, experience has gone up, racecraft, awareness, pace, focus, they've all gone up with a now overall level of 85. And with the team finding out that we were looking at another team for possibly next season, our recognition has taken a massive drop from 50% to now 48%. And with that performance we put in Monza as well, all of our specialists come back from the race week, and very happy that we've done everything needed to give them the information they need for our car to help our future development. And that is going to be all for this episode. If you did enjoy it, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode where we go to Baku for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I'll see you then. See ya.